Welcome to episode 8 of Naked Talk with Unprocessed Jess. Today I want to talk about gut health. It's something that has gained popularity lately, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of different things or seen different things popping up, but it is something that is nothing new, like a lot of things, right? It's just that people are starting to be aware of it and catch on to it. So like anything else, you'll start seeing catchphrases and different buzzwords related to that, whether it's online or from great reliable sources or those marketers putting stuff on the labels to let you know that it's going to help with something, whether it does or not. So that's why it's important to be your own health advocate and learn how to read labels and do a little bit of research for yourself so you can make the best informed decisions that you can for your health because you're worth it. So I just got back from a trip to the Dominican Republic with my husband, and I talk a little bit about that in episode 7 and why we go on those trips. And then I did a quick trip to San Antonio a few days later. Just got back and I leave to a podcast conference for a week in the morning. So you can say I've done a little bit of traveling, and we're actually going to Canada 3 days after we get back from that. But it made me think about gut health and how things used to be when I traveled compared to how they are now. A lot of times people, and I know I was one of them, they think, oh, I'm going to travel, so I'm going to be constipated. You know, that was me. It's like I've shared a little bit about how I didn't even like going to the restroom at school growing up, which led to a lot of different problems in my constipation episode. I believe it's episode 3. It's constipation. Are you full of it? So I was one of those people. I just thought, okay, I'm not going to go. And then you're bloated and miserable. But this trip was so nice. One, I was able to eat really well. I didn't deprive myself. I had a few things with bread items and some sweets here and there. But overall, I stuck to very healthy foods. And I had been very regular during the trip. And it just makes for an enjoyable trip, especially when you're on the beach. I mean, who wants to be bloated when you've worked hard to get those round butts and flat guts that we talk about in our earlier episodes? So I thought I would share about gut health with you and just a little bit of basics. So Hippocrates said all diseases start in the gut. And today we're finding more and more that that's so true. You may have heard about the gut and brain connection. I've gone to workshops on this and done different classes. But your gut really is your second brain, and 95% of serotonin receptors are there. And if you go back to episode 2, or if you heard my sex and sleep episode, serotonin is important, all those hormones, and everything goes back just about to affecting your sleep, which affects your libido or your sex life. And it just either creates a great overall holistic healthy life, or it can be miserable. So it is very important, and you may have even heard of something called Leaky Gut Syndrome, and some of the symptoms, if you're feeling bloated or you're starting to notice like you're kind of sensitive to certain foods, or you have fatigue, joint pain, there's like skin issues, maybe rosacea, different things that you see popping up, or digestive problems, or even weight gain, those all can be associated with leaky gut syndrome. And I want to take a second to let you know that I am a holistic health coach, but this is based on my experience and knowledge, and I'm sharing information with you. So it is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure any illness, disease, and you always want to contact your healthcare professional before taking on a new program, or if you're experiencing prolonged symptoms. So do that first. This is just me passing on information. So another thing about the gut, there's tons of bacteria in there, and something that I've learned on my journey through being a holistic health coach and just learning more about my own body is that there is good and bad bacteria. You know, a lot of times everything's antibacterial. We want to kill everything, just kill it all, and figure out the rest. Well, that's not always the best approach. We are a biome, just like our mouth is a biome. There's good and bad bacteria. Same with our gut. And if we go and just kill everything that's bad, we're going to have casualties along the way, right? We're going to take some of the good stuff along with it. And then we're left with an imbalance. So it's important to do this in a way that is sustainable and gets the best results health-wise. So why are we having these gut health issues? Well, poor nutrition is one of the factors. In episode 5, I talk about eat less crap and eat more food. We're eating a lot of crap nowadays. And with crap, it can be carbonated drinks, refined sugars, refined foods, artificial sugars, processed foods, a lot of things that are boxed and are not real foods. I go into more detail in episode 2, but basically if it has a ton of ingredients on it and it's boxed, it's probably not the best option. You always want to try to go for real whole foods where you look at it and you can say, oh, that is this type of food. That being said, even if we're eating really well, we're just not getting the nutritional value that we did before. And that is due to pesticides being used. Our soil is deteriorating, so it's not that beautiful, rich, pure soil that it used to be. And there's GMOs added on top of that. So even though you might be eating really well and not eating a lot of processed foods, you're just not getting that nutritional value. So that's leading to these gut issues, which also can lead to issues with our immune system, which leave you open for things like being sick more often, not being able to handle situations that you normally could with a very strong immune system. And then stress is no surprise. We're busy, we're overbooked, we're stressing about all of these things, and we're also exposed to heavy metals and environmental toxins, and it's just a lot on our body. And then modern medicine, I've said before, as a holistic health coach, I bridge the gap between the physicians and what can be done in other areas in a natural way. So I do believe there is a place for surgery and medications, but I also believe that a lot of people are using these when they don't really need them. They could do something first and then see how that goes. And these are things that are not acute, but they're chronic issues. So antibiotics, if you look at the word antibiotic, it's against life. So just like we talked about earlier, it's killing the bad thing that it's trying to kill, but it's also taking the good along with it. And that's leaving a lot of times the person depleted of their good things that their gut health is trying to do. And then we have to rebuild that. So you always want to ask yourself, is there one, don't just Google it or take my word for it or someone else's, but look into it a little bit further and say, okay, always try to go back to not just the symptom, which is what you're experiencing, but what is causing that symptom. We got to peel back those layers and get to that root cause, because if we just manage our symptoms, we might keep it at bay for a while, but we're not fixing the problem. So it'll be a quick fix, but it's not sustainable, and it can actually lead to worse problems in the future. So I encourage you to do that. Ask, why am I having this symptom? And what can I do about it possibly naturally before going to the next step? And of course, when I talk about gut health, I have preteens and teens, and I just have to say, I don't know if y'all have heard of these things called Takis or the Flaming Cheetos, but these things are so bad. If my kids ever listen to this, I'm sure they'll be rolling their eyes saying, Mom, whatever. But they are so bad. If you have children, or maybe even you've gone to a convenience store, you've probably seen these, and they really are not good for you, and they're not even really food. It is just horrible. Look on the ingredients. If you go to my Instagram page, I have it on my IGTV. I have a video where I'm just talking about the Takis and kind of showing you what's on the bag, reading it out, and then some of the dangers of it. But it really is a problem, and we're just going to see, sadly, more and more people with digestive and stomach issues, especially our younger generation, because they are eating these things. And, one of my girls included, she will sneak them. She'll have friends buy them. I gave her money on this road trip, and I looked and I saw in the bag they were there, and I find them and I throw them away. But, they're eating them, and it's just horrible. So I wanted to mention that. If you haven't heard of those, or if you're someone who eats them or you've eaten them, please just take a chance and a little bit of time and look into that. So that being said, okay, so this is horrible, right? All this stuff's happening, but okay, great. You might say, okay, Jess, I think I have leaky gut, or I definitely have the symptoms. What can I do about it? A few things. One of the first books I found was called The GAPS Diet, and it stands for the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, and it's by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. And this is a great book, and it focuses on really just removing the foods that are really difficult to digest and that damage your gut flora, and then adding in those nutrient-dense foods that allow your intestinal lining to heal and seal up. Because what you want to do is give your digestive system a break. If we're constantly taxing our digestive system with putting these things in it that is so hard for it to digest, it can't ever take a break, much less heal all those little, think about I kind of explain it to my girls like this. If you have a scab, okay, so say this food went into your lining and it nicked your lining, and it's kind of like having a cut, and then your scab starts forming, but you can't help yourself, so you start picking that scab. Well, it doesn't really ever heal, and it just gets worse. And that's what we're doing to our digestive system. So it's important to kind of lay off of these foods and give it some time to heal. And there's another book called Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. That's one of the first ones that I found. And what I like about that one, it has a lot of fermented food recipes. And if you're one of those that says, okay, I don't even want to make all that, just let me buy it. There's things that you can buy, but it's good to have those options, right? And I will have those in the show notes. You can start going to nakedtalkpodcast.com/ this would be 008, and you would go to whatever the episode is. And I'll have links in there. But so what can we do about it? Well, you can start by removing those foods that are causing inflammation. Yeast, gluten, sugar, dairy. Really reducing those or removing them completely, honestly, depending on where you're at with your health. Or unsprouted grains or something good. Anything with those GMOs we talked about in an earlier episode, refined oils, or a lot of times you'll see the the food additives on there, or the food coloring. That's a big one. Or dairy products that are not cultured. That's a good way to start. Just start removing or adding in the good stuff, and you'll start crowding those things out before you know it. You can also replace those things with stuff that helps it heal. Bone broth is great. This is something that, once again, has been around forever. When you think of chicken soup or different things, that is what was left. And I've done before where I've done chicken, and then I take the liquids that's left, this is on my blog, and then I simmer it down, and I put some of the scraps of the veggies in there, and you simmer for a really long time, and you have this really nutrient-rich broth. I actually found a brand that I liked of the bone broth, the beef bone broth, at my local store, and so that's what I do. Really, we can take it as a preventative, but especially if you're trying to heal that gut, you want to take that. And a lot of times people might try doing a fast where they're doing just the bone broth, and then you're giving your gut that chance to heal, and you're not giving it those foods that it has to work so hard to digest. But once again, always contact your healthcare professional before trying anything. You can try the raw cultured dairy. This is like kefir or yogurt, but what you don't want to do is go into the store and say, oh, this is yogurt, it's great. It's like M&M, I don't know, they're crazy, like M&M caramel yogurt. That is not the yogurt I'm talking about. I'm talking about the raw cultured yogurt. The kefir actually is pretty decent. just try it. Or fermented vegetables. This is like your sauerkraut, your kimchi. I know coconut products are good. Something great about this is it has the medium chain fatty acids in it, or like healthy fats. I love avocados. I would eat those all the time if I could. Those are great. I don't know if you've heard of ghee. It's Ghee. I've bought ghee and used that before. Coconut oil or egg yolks. Obviously, you don't want to have a ton of egg yolks, but that does have some healthy fats in there. And then your omega-3 fats like grass-fed beef, lamb, wild-caught fish. I love salmon. I'm a big believer in bio-individuality, meaning every body is different. Every person's body is different. So as you get to learn your body more and pay more attention to what you're putting into it, you'll notice that your body might do better with certain foods than others. So for me, I've found a pretty much a semi-pescatarian, meaning mainly fresh foods with a little bit of fish in there, fish, and then every now and then beef is where my body is best and how I feel best. But wild caught is definitely important. So look at that. You want to avoid the farm raised if you can. And then of course, fruits in moderation. And when you can, you want to get them organic. I mentioned the Dirty Dozen list and the Clean 15. You can go to ewg.org and get those, and I'll also have that link in the show notes. Basically, the Dirty Dozen are the 12 foods that have the highest concentration of pesticides, so you definitely want to start replacing those with organic if you can. And then the Clean 15 are the ones with the least. So maybe those, like say if you want to get melons and grapes that trip, you definitely want to do your grapes organic and clean as possible because that has a high concentration of pesticides. It's on the Dirty Dozen list. But your melons you really may not want to worry about because they're on the Clean 15. So that's a handy little list to have. Before I had that pretty much down, I just had it printed off and I would have it with me in the grocery store, but you could take a picture of it and have it on your phone or in your notes as well until you get the hang of it. And then you want to repair. So we removed some foods, we replaced, and now we want to repair. So the probiotics that I talk about, I share in a blog post. I could put that link as well in the notes that when we go international or when my husband is going to go on an international trip, I start doubling or depending on how he's feeling or more doubling up on his probiotics to start getting his immune system ready for the stress that he's going to go under and the different things he'll be exposed to. And we also use enzymes. So you may have heard of probiotics, but not as many people have heard of enzymes. And basically what these do is they help you digest and break down your food easier. So I do those, and I use the Young Living brand. It's a company that does essential oils. They're therapeutic grade, but they also have these other things. And I love the I think it's called Pro-Life 9 and Essential Zymes enzymes. And I take those with just about every meal, and it has been amazing for me. And then there's something called L-Glutamine. I didn't really know about this until I started doing my weight training. And I work with, his name is Dr. Banks. He's in the Woodlands, about 40 minutes from where I live. And he does my meal plans. He does individualized meal plans based on your goals, where you're at, your individual body needs, and also what you're trying to achieve. So he does my meal plans, but he put in different things for me to take, and L-Glutamine was one of them. It's basically just an essential amino acid, and it's an anti-inflammatory, and I just started taking that after my workouts. So that's something you might want to look into. So yeah, I think that's a really good start for gut health. I don't want to overwhelm you. If you ever have questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm on Instagram under Unprocessed Jess and Naked Talk Podcast. I would love to connect with you. Be sure you subscribe. So what that does is once you subscribe, it'll just notify you when a new episode comes out. So you can kind of download it and save it for when you're at a place where you can listen to it. I know I love binging when I have a long drive or I know I'm doing laundry or something that I really don't like to do. It just makes it go by faster. But I want to let you know that I have something on if you go to nakedtalkpodcast.com/008, I think it actually might be on my homepage right now. I have a vegan and an omnivore gut rebuilding plan. And it's a 3-day plan. You can extend it to 6 or 7 days, but it gives you what you need to buy. It has the recipes. It has some other detox things you can do, like dry brushing, tongue brushing, some things you may not have tried before. So go on there and download that if you would like. And then I will be sharing more details with you in the future, but I'll be launching a membership group, and it'll be a place for us to go in and have access to different challenges. So, for example, this gut rebuilding plan, instead of you just having the download, we'd go in and do the challenge together. And you'll also have access to my health coaching programs online as long as you're a member. And it's just a great place to connect. And we'll be diving in deeper to different areas of health. And it's going to be much more than just the surface stuff. If you've been listening to me from the beginning, you know that I want to get down to the real stuff. Like, let's make some change here. You know, we hear step 1, 2, 3, but we all know there's more to that. There's trauma from childhood. There's stress. There's toxic relationships. There's mindset blocks that are holding us back. So I'm excited about that, and I'll keep y'all posted. I will be away all week at my podcast conference. So I'm excited to bring details of that and share more with y'all. And I will talk to you in episode 9 of Naked Talk. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.